welcome to a fresh video here on the channel. In today's video, the tea has been spilled. Andrew Russell appeared on SEN this morning, spoke to Sammy Edmund and a couple of the boys, and basically just had a chat about his time at Carlton, but more so his time as a high performance manager. And there were a few quotes in there that piqued my interest, and I have to do a video about it, and I have to unpack this with you, because I think with any change that comes at a club, you always find out later what the truth is. Now, I don't know if he's revealed the full truth of everything. I think when it comes to organizations like Carlton, there's so much going on. I think there is, on the surface, there seems to be an opinion that injuries, high performance manager, they're linked, and if something's going wrong in that injury space, it's the high performance manager's fault, and that's just the way it is. And maybe that is the case, generally speaking, but there is a lot more that goes into the role, and you're going to find out a little bit more in this video. I've gone through and summarized it for you if you haven't spent the 15 or so minutes listening to his bit. So, you know, it was interesting to hear him chat about his role, and I think for a lot of people, they would look at a high performance manager and think, oh, that's just the management of injuries. But he talked a lot about really just managing the mind more than what he was managing the body. And, you know, the relentless nature of the beast. You know, when the team's winning, the coach gets the plaudits, or the players get the plaudits, and fair enough. But when the team's losing, generally speaking, the high performance manager gets a bit of a whack, particularly when there's injuries mounting as well. So it was interesting to see him reflect on what he was actually doing. He mentioned that, you know, you're pretty much influencing hundreds of people, because you've got the playing group, you've got all the staff, you've got the playing group, and then who they're linked to. So I thought that was a really interesting insight there. He mentioned the Carlton program last year and compared it to what he was used to when he had his time at Port Adelaide and then at Hawthorn. He mentioned that last year, for example, the program was 80% or 70-80% ball control or a ball program, and the rest was conditioning. Whereas at his time in Port Adelaide, it was completely the other way around. And so that led to a reflection on just how far the game has come. He also made note that, you know, pre-seasons nowadays, you can get to day one and you're not really going to be getting an advantage on the rest of the competition because everyone's starting early. Whereas, you know, 10, 15 or so years ago, you could sell the story to the players day one of pre-season, start early and get an advantage. And so I guess it just goes to show where the game has come from, where it is, where it's going. Social media means there's so much more out there when it comes to training. And he did make note of the fact that players are curious and they have access to vision from around the world, particularly in, you know, the athletic department. So they're always looking for ways to improve themselves and get better. And then we got to the Carlton soft tissue injury situation. And, you know, he made note, and it pretty fair point, he made note that a lot of our injury issues are going to be resolved through list management, and they already have been. You know, he didn't name names, but he mentioned that a lot of the players who just couldn't withstand the loads that they were putting into them, their bodies were a little bit fragile compared to the rest, and they just could not keep up with the program, and they kept breaking down. So, I mean, that makes sense. You know, Cunners, Marchie, Jack Martin, I think of these types off the top of my head who are no longer with us, that over the course of the last 5 years, we just couldn't get, you know, 20 plus games consistently out of them every year. So there is that, and that is a solution that we already know we have because they're no longer with us and we have new players at the club. So there's that. He then mentioned, I think, the most fascinating part of this whole discussion, and this is the part that I really want to bring up for this video. So I'm going to play you the quote directly of what he mentioned about the change in leadership structure and what that meant for him dealing with players who were in the rehab group.
And there was a little bit as well for me, you know, like the leadership structure that Carlton set up meant that I actually didn't have a huge influence over a lot of those issues. I wasn't involved in a lot of the rehab of a lot of these players. So once I got in, which is the way the club set it up. So that was a bit, you know, disappointing that I couldn't have more of an influence on some of those guys. But I was, you know, I was the one in the hot seat. I was the one that sort of, you know, copped some of the criticism for it. But, you know, so in the end, I focused on the healthy group, working with Vossi, and working with Ash and working with the coaches on that healthy group, because we had a healthy group that was in great shape as well. We really did, and that sort of got glossed over a bit. Is we actually had a lot of guys play a lot of footy last year.
So I heard that and I was like, what? And I'm trying to piece together, what does that mean? Like, what does it mean that your high performance manager was not really a part of the rehab group or didn't have as much control over the players who were injured? Like, what does that mean? Why? Like, what was the leadership structure? And I'm thinking, okay, when did that change? Well, that would likely have been, my best guess is the external review in 2021. So I'd love to know, okay, leadership structure changed, no worries, but what does that mean? I'm obviously not in the high performance space. I'm also not in the space of, leading a football club. So I'm trying to piece my head around why and what was the structure. I'm very aware that things are not simple and there's a complexity to an organization and the way that it's structured. I am very aware of that, but I would love to understand why Andrew Russell would not have had as much to do with players who are injured and getting them back as what he did just the healthy players. So I think of, this is why we got the story of Jack Martin seeking, treatment on his calf externally that, his partner found. And then I think of Adam Chera in 2024, recurring hamstring injury. So was Andrew Russell not part of that process? So it was a really fascinating grab. It hit me straight away, and I'm kind of left wondering why. What does it mean? And more so, less about trying to look in the past and trying to nitpick, but more so moving forward, because we've got a new high performance manager. Is he going to go through the same thing? Is he going to be responsible for the injured players and getting them back on track? And if not, why? I'm just trying to understand, if there's someone watching that can maybe leave a comment who can help me understand why our high performance manager would not be dealing with players in rehab and helping them get back on track. Now, is that the total truth? Is he telling the total truth? Is the truth somewhere in between? It basically says to me that there's some sort of breakdown or division. There's like a part of what I would assume to be a high performance manager's responsibility that's not in his control. And I just don't know why. So that's that. And that's really the crux of this video and the discussion I want to have below. So what did you make of what you just heard? Whether that last bit of commentary there or just around what Andrew Russell had to say throughout the interview. If you haven't listened to the thing in full, I'll put the link for it in the description below. You can take a listen to it. But I just found that last bit fascinating when it came to the leadership structure. And, more importantly than anything else, I just don't want that to be an issue moving forward. I want there to be a fresh slate. Rob Innes comes in, does his thing. I don't want there to be this limiting structure where the guy that you've brought in to do his job can only do his job so much with only so many people in the playing group. So what do you think? We'll chat about it below and go from there. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget, you can still sign up to become a Blue Abroad member. What you're going to get with this membership is, first of all, access to all the content that you already do get, but also you will receive a free entry to every giveaway that we do moving forward, a keyring with your Blue Abroad membership number engraved on the back of it, early access to videos, and also discount codes to use at the shop when we do sales in 2025. So make a choice, $10 per month or $100 per year. If you have any questions, please get in touch. See you on the other side. Go Blues.